To be honest, it's tough to know where to start with this one. Last weekend, on May 2nd, I competed at the WNBF Vancouver Natural Bodybuilding Competition. It was my first planned show for my 2026 Natural Bodybuilding Competition season of up to 2 to 4 tentative shows total, preceded by 11 months of prep thus far. The show was held at a great venue, it was well organized, and it had lots of competitors. I think they said there was something like 106 or 109 competitors competing across all of the different classes. So yeah, it was a big, high-quality event. And it was one of those shows where going into it, I had no idea how I was going to stack up against the other competitors in my class. Prior to it, I've competed 7 times, each with a different assortment of experiences and placings. You can bet that I went into it with a good deal of nervous anticipation, some positive excitement, but also some not so comfortable pre-show anxiety. So, how did I do? Well, in this video, while showing you footage from my latest full body gym workout, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to share with you what my experience was like leading up to the show, being on stage, and what it's been like thereafter as the smoke continues to settle a little bit. Before getting into it, if you find yourself enjoying this video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Okay, let's dive in. You know, it's funny. I started this prep with the intention of not fixating on what my placings would be for the shows of my season. Something I've learned is that when it comes to competitive natural bodybuilding, you can prepare as much as is feasibly possible leading up to a show, but depending on who else shows up as a competitor on the day, no amount of hard, well thought out, diligent preparation could be enough when facing competitors who are simply better, who are leaner, bigger, and have better symmetry. When there are better competitors there, the show is decided basically before it even starts, in terms of placings anyways. That's just the way it works. And really, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a sport. So I went into the prep, and even my improvement season prior to beginning the prep, keeping that in mind. My goal was and is predominantly to bring my best, leanest, most muscular physique to the stage possible. Yes, with the intention of winning, but also with having a peace of mind in knowing that based on who shows up, I might not. But even so, the drive and desire to get after it has been there, and my mind has been set to bring the best version of myself possible to the stage and celebrate whatever that version might end up becoming, regardless of what my placings are. It was an 11-month prep leading up to the show last weekend. And yeah, that's been a decent amount of time to be focused on a single goal. Shoot, I was focused on it for the years of my improvement season leading up to it. My brain thrives on tunnel vision, though, on focusing on one thing at a time for long periods of time. I think it's a natural proclivity I have, or actually a grace I've been given. The same is probably true for many natural bodybuilding competitors, I suspect. Anyhow, throughout the first, 2/3 of my prep, my mindset remained pretty static. Bring my best physique possible. Try to win, yes, but celebrate my end product regardless of my placing or placings. The prep itself was littered with its own set of challenges. Of course, over 11 months, things are bound to come up, both directly in the prep and outside of it. I would actually say that the challenges outside of prep are more difficult to manage and balance than the ones that come from within it, like little nagging pains here and there, hunger management, and that sort of thing. Although there was a pretty significant one that came up right before the start of my competition that I'll share with you in a few minutes here, so stay tuned for that. As far as challenges outside of my prep goes, there were some very significant, life-changing ones, really, that I was up against. To be honest, I don't think now is a time to fully disclose what they have been. I think the prudent thing would be to share them in more detail, truthfully, sometime 3 to 5 years from now. A part of me wants to fully disclose them, as I think they're relatable and might help others who have and are experiencing similar such challenges. And man, they do make for a heck of a story. For now, however, I'll just say that they have been and still are very difficult. But such is life. Everyone goes through tough, life-changing challenges, I think. Anyhow, getting deeper and deeper into the prep and getting to the weeks really leading into the show of this past weekend, my mindset began to shift a bit. For anyone who's prepped before, you know how it is. The closer to the show you get, the more hyper-focused and competitive you get, the more you want to win. I'm definitely competitive at heart, so that shift definitely happened for me, even though my internal dialogues kept me with a level enough head to remember just how these shows work. With that growing desire to win, I felt more pressure and stress as I got deeper into the prep. I don't think this is a bad thing per se, but I do think it's something worth keeping a level head about and to uphold a level of awareness of. And what's helped me keep a level head? Well, different to any other prep I've done prior to this one, I've put my trust entirely in God. After all I can do is, with the grace I'm given, is check off all of the boxes, follow my diet protocol, train hard and smart, and keep taking steps forward one day at a time. Everything outside of that, including what my placings would be in any of my upcoming shows, are essentially outside of my control. So, although it's admittedly been tough and something I've wrestled with, I've been doing my best just to surrender to the will of God. And has it helped? You better believe it has. It's helped immeasurably. So finally, after 11 months of my prep, I made it to my peak week. And that was only just last week. Up to that point, things were great overall. I was feeling confident about my physique. I was training hard, following my diet, and although I was nervous, I was ready for it. And then it happened. During my second last workout, the Tuesday before the show, I strained my back. It was a freak accident, really. One of my wrist straps was coming loose when I was doing bent over rows, and as I was kind of adjusting and squirming a bit mid-set because of it, I just threw out my back a little bit. It wasn't super serious, but it hurt. And it was bad enough that because of it, I couldn't pose properly. And that's pretty important when you're competing on stage. When it happened, I knew it was relatively minor and that it probably would heal quickly, but even so, there were only 5 days until the show. Not very much time at all for a full recovery. So you can bet my stress level shot up pretty high. Fortunately, after about 48 hours, the pain pretty much completely subsided. Like I suspected, it was just a pesky back spasm, one of those annoying, painful things that hurts for a few days and then heals pretty quickly. So upon recovering on the Thursday morning before the show, I figured I was healed up enough to practice running through all of my poses. And you know what happened next? Well, upon doing that posing practice, I threw out another part of my back, a different part. Yep, just when I thought I was in the clear, disaster struck again, but this time with only 2 full days until the show. Yeah, you can bet my stress level shot up pretty darn high at that point. I knew it was another minor yet pesky spasm, or at least I suspected it was, but being only 2 days away from Showtime, I was very worried I wouldn't be able to pose properly on stage. Even so, I managed to work around the pain for my final modified workout later that Thursday morning before driving to Vancouver with my mom for the show itself. I was hopeful that I would be okay to pose on stage for Saturday morning, but I was worried beyond belief nonetheless. I managed to keep my head on my shoulders despite the sore recovering back, though. Remember how earlier I mentioned that in this prep I'd been practicing putting my full trust in God? Well, that's what I did for this back pain. Shoot, that was all I could do. Pray, surrender to whatever God had planned for me. See, the way I saw it was that this pain, or really suffering that I was experiencing, was something that was permitted by God to bring about some greater good. Of course, as to what that good was, there was no way I could know what it might be, but I could just trust that regardless of what it was, that it would lead to the best possible outcome. That's a tough concept, I know, and one that I still wrestle with. It's the problem of evil or the problem of suffering, and it's why many people turn from God, I think. But you know what? Not only did trusting and surrendering to God work, but it turned out better than I could have dreamed of, really. By the time it was showtime, my back was stiff and a bit sore, but it was recovered enough that I could pose just fine. My time backstage before the show was great. I met some of my fellow competitors and felt a wind of positivity. I didn't know how I would stack up against the line of competitors I was up against, but felt confident that I could at the very least hold my ground, and felt joy that it was finally time to just go for it. So, how did it go? Well, I won. I won the heavyweight gold medal, and then went on to win the overall open bodybuilding title to earn my pro status. A dream that I've had for years. Something that I would be lying if I said anything different than that I'd wanted it pretty badly. And it finally happened, by the will of God, and through the graces that He's given me over the course of not just this 11-month prep, but my entire life leading up to it, including through the massive amount of help I've received from the people in my life, like my mom and my coach, Jeff. I actually made a whole video about their role in helping me throughout this prep, so check it out if you haven't yet. I've linked it below, and there'll be an icon somewhere that pops up. You can click on to watch it. Honestly, I could make an entire series of videos sharing what I think is evidence of the grace God's given me from looking back at all of my life experiences leading up to this last weekend winning this title. But even so, I suspect I shouldn't read into it too deeply, because at the end of the day, only God knows, and all I can do is speculate. What I can say confidently, though, is this. I didn't win through my will alone. I won from it being God's will, and from the grace and strength that He's given me. So now, here I am, feeling full of gratitude. Through God and the people who have helped me, I've had a dream come true. Alas, it is a material one, which means it isn't everything. But even so, it's left me with joy, fulfillment, and again, gratitude. At this point, 1 week after the show, I'm still letting it all sink in. Again, it's a material thing, and it isn't everything, but it is something important, and something that I hope I can use to give back to God in some way, or to use to help others. Okay, so now what's next for me? Well, my pro debut. June 13th is the Natural Columbia Classic in Washington State, and you can bet I'll be there for that. In addition to the excitement of this show being my pro debut, there's something else about it that's going to make it incredibly special as well. You'll get to see what I'm talking about when it's actually showtime, so stay tuned for that. Anyhow, as of now, I am going to continue prepping for that goal, and ultimately continue trusting in God and doing my best to follow the plan that He has set for me. It's my hope that I'm following in the right direction as intended. I want to say a big thank you for sticking around and watching this entire video. If you have any questions about my prep, the competition, or my continued competitive season, please feel free to drop your question or questions in the comment section below. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.